around this. So they represent the worst of the Ukrainian nationhood or nationality or the mindset. And if you have these kind of individuals as your national heroes, and on there you call him Batko, our father, right? That's from and I'm also stock in a cryptocurrency trader. And if you worship these kind of people, then you're in for hurt. So like, how do you expect a better outcome when you worship people that has been just doing the same thing over and over, hitting their head against the wall?
Orwell, how did you by the way, I love your name, man. Every time I freaking corresponded with you, I was thinking of George Orwell. I'm like, holy crap, man, it's a cool name. How did you get introduced to the Ukrainian community? Like, how did you, because you mentioned before in the email that you're thankful to a lot of Ukrainian people, and how was your introduction to the Western Ukrainian diaspora world, if you will?
It was by accident pretty much, but so when I was at university, I remember that the old guards in the Canadian prairies, the English speaking Canadians, the Anglophones, they wanted nothing to do with me. But I found over time, I found that the Ukrainians, they had the most similar experience that my people had from the region I'm from. I mean, and I started to be more empathetic towards their history, their suffering. And this was around the time when the Euromine kicked off, so I get more interested. Initially, I wasn't too interested in supporting someone else's cause, but yeah, over time I got drawn into it, and I also supported him because I needed someone to vouch me when I'm applying for like law school or grad school. Because when you're undergraduate, you do need an ally. You need somebody to vouch for you, write you like a reference letter, your like job or academic reference, and they're the only allies that I could possibly find in the university. But it wasn't only for like a monetary or my personal benefits. I really genuinely supported the Ukrainian cause, and it's, for me, it really breaks my heart that I had to write this book, but I just had to get some truth out there.
What is that feeling like? Because I I remember you mentioned this in the email, like you felt, I don't want to misquote you, but I think you said that I feel bad because I feel like I owe something to the Ukrainian people. Like, what is that feeling like? Did you have a sort of a guilt trip when you were approaching this book?
Well, if they read the well, if my old friends, like my mentor, one of my professors, if read this book, he's gonna come after me with a pitchfork, like I said in the other email, because they're devout supporters of Ukrainian cause, although they're they come from the Second World War generation roots, so they have the baggage. I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it out there. If anyone doesn't know, I'm originally from Western Ukraine, which is actually from the Lviv province. And if you know Orwell, this is where the whole Ukrainian identity, if you will, has been living and spreading roots for at least the last 100 years. Some of my family members, in my great uncle and grandfathers and stuff like that, were in the UPA actually. So when I was raised, and I came to the States when I was 11 years old. When I was raised in this environment, we always it was like this always joking thing towards Russians, that we hate Russians. they did the Holodomor and everything like that. And me, I'm also a Ukrainian American hip hop artist. If you would search up my name, there's no one else, no other artist that would ever shout out Ukraine as much as I did. But when I was 19, I started to dive deeper into the issue and into the question of national Ukrainian identity and things like that. And I found that the majority of things that we were taught from generation to generation, just like you said, especially after World War II, were actually false. They were not true. They didn't even make sense. Even such things as the Holodomor. And me growing up, being raised in Ukraine in the 90s, and still, being very much in contact with Ukraine till this day, I know exactly, there's no one else that can tell me. I know exactly how corrupt the Ukrainian government is. I can't even call it a government. It's always been like that ever since the Soviet Union broke up. Um, and it is until this day that way. And today is multiple times worse because now we have a war on our hands, and these people are just stealing and robbing the nation blind, man. um so I just wanted to put it out there. um what was your turning point, Orwell, in how, because I'm pretty sure that when you had Ukrainian friends, they also told you about Holodomor and all these bad Maskali and things. Like, what was your turning point? When did you start realizing that something isn't right about the whole story?
Well, it's when I start seeing people that I consider as friends. Like, well, I remember one guy. He's a Ukrainian diaspora. He studied the same school. He was my colleague, and he also came to the city that I was in the Eastern Canada around the same time. I think he's even a yeah. He also worked for the Ukrainian Canadian Congress too, and he had absolutely no shame in working for the Liberal government. And that for me, that was a turning point. I'm like, wait a minute, we were all supportive of the justice, the goodness and righteousness in Ukraine, and you want to shake hands with them just because you needed a job, like that was a turning point. And then I see Chrystia Freeland becoming the uh, excuse me, she first became the foreign affairs minister, and her the story of her about her grandfather's past got exposed, and I was like, oh man, I I actually did a bit of research, and turns out it was actually Freeland and her uncle John Paul Himka. He's a University of Alberta history professor, retired now, but she actually helped him discover the truth out, and she was playing the Russian propaganda game just so she can save her post. And I was like, this is just doesn't feel right. And of course, like fast forward to 2023, I came to the point where I should put a book together exposing that truth.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna be the first one to put it out there. And again, when I was a kid, I was so, just like most of us in the Lviv province, I was such a Ukrainian nationalist, and especially coming to America, because you always become a patriot when you move somewhere else, man.
Hmm.
That I would say I was such a Ukrainian national that I almost went all the way to the extreme right, if you will. You understand? Like, again, I the kind of person I am, I can't hate someone for their nationality or their race, but the idea that was instilled in me since I was a child, that screw these Russians and this and that. So I'm trying to say that I'm going to be the first one to put it out there. UPA and organization, Ukrainian organization of Ukrainian nationalists, during the World War II, they collaborated with the Nazis. There's no way to go around this. This whole slogan, Slava Ukraini, is actually a Nazi slogan. There's no way to sugarcoat this. There's no way to go around this. I have to put it out there. People, you have to realize this. Um, Orwell, so what is your book about? What is it? If you could, I don't know, in short or in long, and take however you long, like, what is it
Sure.
about? It has such a gripping title, 90 Seconds to Midnight, Why Ukraine Can't Win, but how can find an exit. If you could please take as long as you like what is the premises of the book?
Well, generally, the book is about. I'm trying to. Well, the title says it pretty much. If we sit on our butts and just wait and what's going to happen, wait and see. If you take that kind of approach, sooner or later, it's going to be the us in the West. Well, I wrote this mainly for the Americans and Canadians. It's going to be us that's going to get thrown into that same meat grinder that Ukrainians been getting thrown into for the past 2 years. And I'm mentioning that the Ukraine is not what a lot of people think it is. I mean, you said it better than I did. That it's not a democratic country that's fighting for freedom or justice. It's just a country that's being a cannon fodder for the to to prevent um, any further Russian expansion into the former Soviet Republic region. And it's and to people like Stepan Bandera, Romashkevich, these people symbolize the I hate to say it, but there's just no way around this. So they represent the worst of the Ukrainian nationhood or nationality or the mindset. And if you have these kind of individuals as your national heroes, and Bandera, you call him Batko, our father, right?
Mhm.
That's from and I'm also a stock and a cryptocurrency trader. If you worship these kind of people, then you're in for hurt. So like, how do you expect a better outcome when you worship people that has been just doing the same thing over and over, hitting their head against the wall, and expect a better outcome? You can't do that. And I spent at least like 3 chapters in my book trying to help help Americans, Canadians to understand the darkest chapter in Ukrainian history. That's what I call it. The Olin, the Upa, the people who are part of it. Like, I actually dedicate a whole chapter for on Stepan Bandera's life, and I think I also mentioned in my video, right? It has support, has upholding these people as heroes or our fathers has actually made things better for Ukraine, and that's something that not only us but also the Ukrainians, especially the diaspora, they have to think about this on their own. But that unfortunately, there's so much anger and emotions because of what's happening in Ukraine. Unfortunately, I'm not really seeing that happening. But if so, I thought what at least what I can do is to inform as many Americans and Canadians, and hopefully people in Europe or elsewhere too, because it's not just the NATO members and the and the Western countries that are getting drawn into this conflict too. And if you're, I don't really think it's mentioned so much in the West, but South Korea actually sent a lot of 155 millimeter shells to Ukraine.
Mhm.
Well, it actually had to went to U.S. and then U.S. sent to Ukraine. But you see that like countries that are like on the other side of the world are getting drawn into this conflict. So we don't say it, but it is the effect of World War III, and I just me knowing at least a couple things, a few things. I won't say I know everything about Ukraine, but me knowing the history of the region, I just had to speak out. I mean, I can't just sit on my ass and wait until I get drafted.
Mhm.
And I've seen those videos of those people where they're getting press ganged into the military. It is just
Yeah.
it's awful, and I don't want that to happen to me or to my family or to anybody. That's why I sit down and put a book together.
I'm still very much in contact with people in Ukraine, and what you just said about people are literally, I have to put this out there, people are literally getting snatched off the street to go into the meat grinder, as you perfectly described it too. So this is not a myth, it's not a legend, it's not a TikTok video, because I'm in contact. People are telling me that yes, you could be walking down the street. Like, is most of the time, is there a prehistory, like was the guy served a mandate to come serve? Perhaps, but still, there are people, men are literally getting snatched off the street. Orwell, you said that you dedicated a portion of the book to Stepan Bandera. What did you learn about Stepan Bandera's life that maybe you didn't know before? And what did you learn about Stepan Bandera? What can you say about him? And what kind of impression did that leave on you?